spiritual food for thought. Welcome back to Spiritual Food for Thought. I thank you for joining me once again. If this is your first time joining me, feel free to check the videos, check the playlist, take a look at some other ones, and if you like what you see, feel free to like and subscribe. At the moment, we're looking through some things based on Mark 7 because this is one that is so ripped horribly out of context. So many people and pastors and seminaries and study Bibles just completely pervert the text, change the everything about it to really teach something completely different than was ever said here. At the moment, I'm going to focus on something that could either be a bad formula of modern church theology or really just ripping it out of context. So we're going to focus on one part at the end, and this is really where the bad formula comes in. This is really where people distort it and they miss the point if you even just think about it for a second. As his disciples were eating with unwashed hands, not following the tradition of the elders, Judaism, they were just obeying God, not Judaism. The scribes and Pharisees took offense with it, and at the end of his interaction with the Pharisees here, it says in verse 17, "And when he was entered into the house from the people, his disciples asked him concerning the parable. And he saith unto them, Are ye so without understanding also? Do you not perceive that whatever thing from without entereth into the man, it cannot defile him, because it entereth not into his heart, but into the belly, and goeth out into the draught, purging all meats." Now we'll get into this purging all meats part in a future video, but here, Jesus pretty much telling his disciples that, if your hands are dirty, and you can look at Matthew 15:20 to find the conclusion of the matter, and you have some dirt on your bread, that dirt is not going to defile you because it just goes into the belly and is cast out into the draught. Now this purging all meats part, people really rip out of context. We'll get into that next time. But basically, what they say is, that means we can eat anything now. We can eat anything now. Well, think about the formula here. Because whatever we eat goes down to our belly and is cast out into the draught, turns into poop, we can now eat anything. First of all, poop is not a New Testament miracle. Okay, poop is not a New Testament miracle. Think about that. They always ate things and it went down to the belly and was cast out into the draught. If you cannot grasp that from reality, allow me to back up once in Scripture. I will show you from the Old Testament where back in the day, out in the wilderness, as God's giving commands, he mentions that they too pooped, actually. It says here in Deuteronomy chapter 23, verses 12 and 13, "Thou shalt have a place also without the camp," outside the camp, "whither thou shalt go forth abroad. And thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon, and it shall be that when thou wilt ease thyself abroad, thou shalt dig therewith, and shalt turn back and cover that which cometh out of thee." Okay, it's put kind of politely there, but he says, if you gotta poop, go outside the camp, have a paddle, dig a hole, poop in the hole, and then cover it. Okay? Poop is not a New Testament miracle. And it's not even like, the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, then all of a sudden people started pooping. This is before the crucifixion. Last time I mentioned that if Jesus is teaching people to disobey God's commands, first of all, he's being the hypocrite of hypocrite in context here, but then also, he's a sinner. He can't lead people away from obeying God, or he's sinning. We'll get more into that in the future too. But for the moment, think about this formula. Because whatever we eat goes into our belly and turns into poop, now we can eat anything. That doesn't work. Why? Because people always ate things. It always went down to their belly, and whatever their body didn't extract from it turned into feces. That was always the case. Poop is not a New Testament miracle. Something turning into poop doesn't mean we can eat anything, and I'll clue you in too. There's plenty of things you could put in your mouth and swallow which are not right, which are inappropriate, which you shouldn't do, even if your system will pass it. Think for just a moment. I won't go into details, but there's plenty of things that fit into that category. And this idea or this concept doesn't even work when just compared to other verses in the New Testament. Think about this for a second. Acts 15:20. But that we write unto them, the new believers converting from the Gentiles, that they abstain from pollution of idols, and from fornication, and from things strangled, and from blood. Well, guess what? Things strangled, if an animal was strangled and you eat that animal, it goes down to the belly and is cast out into the draught. Okay, that turns to poop too. If you eat or drink blood, that goes down to the belly and is cast out into the draught. So if the clear teaching of what they're saying in Mark 7, what Jesus is teaching here, is that because things turn into poop, you can eat whatever you want, then when they said, oh, the new believers, let's make sure they don't eat anything that was strangled or eat any blood. And then people would have been like, well, hold on. Jesus said that turns into poop. It's okay. Do you see how they didn't jump to that right away? They didn't say, but hold on. I know if I eat a strangled animal, it goes down to the belly and is cast out to the draught. Okay, this doesn't even work when only looking at the New Testament in context. But the New Testament in context, the whole Bible, it gets even worse. And this is not the teaching of Jesus Christ here. Okay? He's simply saying, if something extra, like if you had some dirt on your hand and you were eating actual food, I think I'm going to get into that next time, and it goes down, I mean, it's just going to pass through your system. It's not that your hands weren't clean enough and therefore now you're defiled. That's what he's saying there. To eat with unwashed hands does not defile a man. It's not, don't worry about God's commands and do as thou wilt. Okay? That's the satanic Bible. That's Satanism, do as thou wilt. That's not the message of Jesus Christ. Think about that for just a moment. Takeaways from this video. Poop is not a New Testament miracle. I've actually had to explain that to people. Number 2, just because something turns into poop doesn't mean we can eat it. Okay? That's not what this is talking about. Number 3, that's a really bad formula that doesn't even work when compared to other New Testament verses. Think about that. It doesn't work. So read this in context. Mark 7. Check out Matthew 15, the parallel passage. Read them both. Think about this. And continue to prayerfully and carefully discern what the actual message is here. But if it doesn't make any sense, if poop's not a New Testament miracle, if things turning into poop doesn't mean we can eat them even in the New Testament, context, then that can't be the teaching of this. Maybe you should tell your pastor sometime, if you ask him about this, that poop's not a New Testament miracle. I would love to hear what he says. I've told people that before. That formula is flawed, and it is so flawed because people were always pooping. So why was a dietary law ever given? Why did God ever say this is food, this is not food, if they all turn into turds? Do you see how that doesn't make sense? It doesn't make sense. So I hope that you'll take him at his word, not at what man says his words mean. That's irrational, it's illogical, and it's dangerous. Be blessed. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.